This video is a follow-up to my previous video on cutting long and wide boards utilizing the Accu-Slice bandsaw accessory. Although the Accu-Slice system wasn't originally designed for cutting long and wide boards, it can be done. However, we are using a very long rail to accomplish this. This rail is 8 foot long. It overhangs the table by quite a bit, and as a result, both ends of the rail must be supported. In my previous video, I used these inexpensive boat cover supports, which work quite nicely. However, these don't allow any lateral movement as you're moving the carriages and boards closer to the bandsaw blade. A better option might be to use these roller stands that I found on Harbor Freight for about $16 each. This roller would allow some lateral movement of the rail as the whole system is moving towards your bandsaw blade. Quite often long and wide boards you want to cut are not flat and have some amount of warp. This can create a problem when attaching the boards to the sacrificial fence with double-sided tape. Clamping the tape boards for 1 or 2 minutes may help, but the board will still have a tendency to pull away from the fence due to the natural warping of the wood and also due to some vibration from the bandsaw table itself. One answer would be to remove the sacrificial fence and to attach your board directly to these carriages with screws. However, this would mean a lot of wasted wood, and you might accidentally cut into the screws with your bandsaw blade. A better solution would be to actually glue some scrap plywood to the back of your board and then screw this plywood onto your carriages. And this is what I will demonstrate in this video. In the previous video, I used an 8/10 per inch bandsaw blade to slice a 6-inch wide by 48-inch long cherry board. This blade produced a nice smooth cut, but required the board to be passed through the bandsaw blade fairly slowly. Therefore, for this demonstration, I've installed a 6/10 per inch blade for cutting these wider boards, and this should be a little bit faster. Later, I also demonstrate a 4/10 per inch blade to make a comparison. Okay, as was done in the previous video, I've attached my board with the scrap plywood to my carriages. I clamped them in place slightly above the table and just making sure that it slides freely and easily along the entire length of the system. And now that it's clamped in place, I'll put some screws in there to put everything in its place. So now everything's been screwed in place. I move the board against the bandsaw blade. Now I'll move it back and turn it in and take my first cut just to square everything off. So there's my cut on that board. See, no burn marks. Nice and not quite as smooth as the 8/10 per inch blade, but pretty good cut. So now I'll go and cut a 50,000th inch thick piece of wood. So here's our cherry board, 8 inches wide, 48 inches long, 50,000ths of an inch thick, perfectly straight, perfectly parallel, no burn marks, no saw marks. Not too bad of a finish. It's not quite as good as the 8/10 per inch blade, but pretty good. So next I'm going to go down and cut a 25,000th inch thick piece, be half the thickness of this. So there's our piece of cherry, 8 inches wide, 48 inches long, 25,000ths inch thick, perfectly straight, parallel. You know, and the fact that I can move this board back and forth like this proves there's no blade drift. If there was blade drift, I couldn't do it. Again, there's no burn marks No significant saw marks on the board. So what I've accomplished here with a 1/16 per inch blade, I've cut an 8-inch by 48-inch long piece of cherry, and I made 3 slices, one 50,000th inch thick, one 25,000th inch thick, and one 10,000th inch thick. And each board perfectly straight, perfectly parallel. No burn marks, no blade drift issues. Very nice. I've been mainly using Timberwolf bandsaw blades for all the projects I've been working on with the Accu-Slice system. However, at a recent trade show, a customer recommended the Hyneman wood slicer bandsaw blade, so I thought I'd give it a try. This blade has a variable pitch between 3 and 4 teeth per inch, but what intrigues me most about the bandsaw blade is the fact that the kerf is only 31,000ths of an inch thick, where the Timberwolf is between 45 and 50 thousandths. This would mean much less wasted wood, which I think is quite important. As a result, I've gone in and installed one of these blades on my bandsaw, and we'll give it a try cutting the same piece of cherry I did in the last sequence. I'm all set up now to run my board through the bandsaw. This is a piece of cherry, again, 8 inches wide by 48 inches long, and I've adjusted to cut a piece of wood 50 thousandths of an inch thick. So I did go ahead and cut 3 boards from this 8 inch by 48 inch piece of cherry. 2 pieces were 50 thousandths of an inch thick, and one was 25 thousandths of an inch thick. And these are again all done with the Hyneman wood slicer bandsaw blade. Surface is a little bit coarser than my 1/16 per inch Timberwolf blade. It definitely was a faster cut, so if I'm interested in speed, I'd probably go with this blade. But if I want a smoother cut, I think I'll stick with the Timberwolf 8 teeth per inch or even 6 teeth per inch blades. In summary, mounting the board to this piece of scrap plywood, gluing it to the board, and then screwing this to the carriages worked quite well. Actually, I think it worked better than using the sacrificial fence with double-sided tape. I was able to cut all the way down to the very end of the board. And out of that one piece of 3/4 inch cherry, I was able to get 6 good slices of wood that I can use for future projects.